control. And in the plaster center, there is air conditioning. If you need heat, you will have it. If you need cold, you will have it. More than that, there is a sound system, a good PA system. You can hear what you need to hear. There are nice seats so you can sit comfortably. Gee, if you need to use the restrooms, there are facilities around the corner. I mean, everything is taken care of. Indoor track meets. Better yet, I'm much more interested in the 100-meter dash. It is over these days in how many seconds? Oh, gosh. 10? 15 is really slow. But it is over pretty quick. You can see the end from the beginning. Boom, and they take off. There are no potholes in the turf. I mean, it just, woof, done. Yeah! Question. Which of these two races do you think represents the faith journey? That's a tricky question, isn't it? Which of these do you think represents the faith journey? Is it more of a 100-meter dash? Getting the blocks? Stable environment? Every step assured? Boom! Over in 30 seconds? Or is it more like a cross-country run? Never quite know what's coming around the corner. It may rain, it may hail, there might be potholes. Sometimes you run alone, sometimes you run with others, and it's just 1 foot. Which of these two races more closely represents the faith journey? Of course, it's the cross-country race. And that's why we need faith. That's why we need faith, because it's not over in 20 seconds. It's not predictable. You don't know what's around the corner. There are going to be ups and downs. That's why we need faith. You ask the question, how far can faith go? That's why we need faith. So that we can see it all the way to the end. Paul said, I have run a good race. I have finished the race, right? I have kept the faith. It's a long journey. If it all goes well, it's a long journey. That's why we need faith. We need faith. Now, there are passages in the Bible where we are given paragons of faith. If you would read with me here in just a little bit, Hebrews chapter 11. I believe I put a page number up there for you. Hebrews chapter 11. We're going to read here a little bit and get a sense of people of faith and how they lived out this faith to the end. There are several different examples there. Hebrews chapter 11, of course, the book of Hebrews is the book of faith. This is a letter that is written to encourage believers who are struggling in their faith. Not because they're lazy, but because there is persecution, there is challenge, there is difficulty. It's no longer cool to be a Christian. Does that sound familiar? You bring it up in some circles, and people wonder, is your head screwed on right? They needed encouragement. Hebrews chapter 11. We begin in verse 29. And listen for the phrase, by faith. Here we go. By faith, the people passed through the Red Sea as on dry land, but when the Egyptians tried to do so, they were drowned. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell after the army had marched around them for 7 days. By faith, the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. And what more shall I say? I don't have time to tell you about Gideon and Barak, Samson, Jephthah, about David and Samuel and the prophets. We don't have time. to talk to us about all these paragons of faith. And the list is not exhaustive. There's a lot more. But when it comes to a model of faith, when it comes to someone to look at, it's interesting that the writer of Hebrews actually takes our attention off of these paragons of faith and names just one person for us to look at as a model of faith. Let's press on. It's a good thing that we are going to work on the story here in just a little bit. And if you don't know these models of faith, it's Jacob and Abraham and Sarah and Isaac, fear not. We are getting ready to start the story. And I encourage you to get into the story. Amen. I encourage you to get into the story and discover these paragons of faith for yourself. But back to Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 11. We're continuing on. And we are going to look at chapter 12, just verse 1b and 2. Hebrews chapter 11, chapter 12, verse 1b and 2. I had a sheet in here which has disappeared on me. The last part of verse 1 says this. Take my glasses off so I can see. Forgive me. It says, let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. Verse 2 says, looking to Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith, who for the sake of joy that was set before him endured the cross, disregarding its shame, and has taken the seat at the right hand of the throne of God. Your words may be a little bit different. But here is the bottom line for today. To live by faith, fix your eyes on who? On Jesus. That's it. That's our one destination for this message. To live by faith, fix your eyes on Jesus. Fix your eyes on Jesus. Somebody says, why should we fix our eyes on Jesus? After all, there have been many paragons of faith. Well, the reasons are listed right there in the text. Fix your eyes on Jesus because he is the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. What exactly does a pioneer do? A pioneer is one who starts something, right? It's the one who leads something from the front. I can imagine a name like a pathfinder, somebody who charges forward and starts something and leads from the front. Jesus is the pioneer of our faith. Leads from the front. Shows us the way. He's the starter. So look to Jesus. What does it mean to say that he is the perfecter of our faith? To perfect something is to bring something to its proper conclusion. That's to perfect something. To perfect something is to do such work with that thing that when you are done, it cannot be improved upon. That's perfect. Jesus is the perfecter of our faith. You may recall that on the cross, before Jesus dies, he says, it is finished. He's the perfecter of our faith. He's the one who brings it to a complete end. He started it and he's walked it and run it all the way to the end. So look to Jesus. Look to Jesus. Another reason in the text why we ought to look to Jesus if we want to see this race through is that not only is he the pioneer of our faith and the perfecter of our faith, it says something about where Jesus put his focus. It says that he never lost sight of the joy that was set before him. That he endured the cross. He scorned its shame. Endured the cross. Scorned its shame. That means he pressed through it. Even Jesus didn't get a bypass route. He wanted one. Remember Garden of Gethsemane? Father, is there another way? No, there isn't another way. There isn't another way. And so the person to whom we look pressed through. Pressed through. Focusing on the joy that was set before him. What joy? Well, this reconciliation between God and humanity. This peace, this love of God made alive in people, this restoration. That's the thing that drove Jesus all the way through. And now, Hebrew tells us that now he is seated at the right hand of the throne of God, that position of glory, that position of victory. He started the race, he sees it all the way to the end, he's seated in that position. Look to Jesus. Look to Jesus. Because the race is not a 100-meter dash. It's not indoors. It can be very difficult. It can be very trying. And that's just when you're running it by yourself. And then you throw in people like me who will say things and do things to drive you up the wall sometimes. Send you emails that makes you think, what is he thinking? What is he smoking up there? Well, I don't smoke anything, for the record. But what I'm saying is that as soon as you add community, boy, the energy bounces back and forth. And we are bound to lose our focus. Look to Jesus. Look to Jesus. If you're going to run this journey that live by faith, fix your eyes on Jesus. Well, Pastor, I think that's a great idea. Tell me how to do it. I have no idea where to begin. I brought a stick today. It's a walking stick. And I thought, how could I keep this stick up in the air with one finger? There we go, one finger. And whoa! And as long as, woo! As long as my eyes are fixed on the top of the stick, I might get distracted from time to time, but as long as I come back and stay here, I'm on track. How do you fix your eyes on Jesus? There's got to be a symbol. There's got to be a way. Eugene Peterson tells a story in the same passage, and he says, the way to fix your eyes on Jesus is to rehearse the story of Jesus, of his life, of his ministry, of his suffering, of his death, of his resurrection. Rehearse the story, right? Just rehearse the story. Speak it to yourself. Listen to it. Be around people who repeat it. Just rehearse the story. Okay? Well, that's a start. That's a start. Because just focusing on it reframes what's going on. Look at the person we are following and look at what he went through. Look at his journey. Look at how he managed. It just reframes everything. Then I thought, what if we had a symbol? What if we had a symbol we can just get a hold of and focus on while we retell the story? And I thought, I wonder what symbol that might be. I mean, think about it. To grab a cross. Maybe it's a wooden one. Maybe it's one you draw in your bulletin right now, just a cross. which you can look at, just focus on, and rehearse that story of who Jesus is as a way of fixing your eyes on Jesus. Are you willing to try that? Try that this week. Challenge you. Try that this week. Take 5 minutes. The cross you've drawn on your bulletin, or maybe you have one at home, as an exercise of fixing your eyes on Jesus, because you want to live by faith. And there are lots of places to look, believe me. Not all of them very encouraging. But to fix your eyes on Jesus. So for our prayer time today, for the next minute, keep your eyes open. Focus on the cross. Remember the story of Jesus.